All right, this is a look at the second degree Caliburn by Captain Slug. It is a double barrel blaster. The second degree is aptly named the second degree because it has two barrels. It has two mag wells as well, so it's a double fed, or I guess a inline double barrel setup. It's a standard Caliburn threaded rod version, so you've got threaded rods on the front that hold it together, as well as threaded rods in the back. Compared to the regular threaded rod Caliburn though, it is very rigid because it has a lot more prints to hold it together. And with the double barrel and double mag well, you also have double plunger tubes and double triggers. So you have a trigger that's split in two, so you can pull it to fire either your left or your right barrel by putting your finger more to the left or more to the right, which is cool because a lot of double magwell or double shot blasters have one trigger that pulls and fires on a half or a full pull, but this I think gives you a little more control. So it has a standard Picatinny shuttle in the front for different foregrips. Here's an angled foregrip. You also have rail on top in the front, which I think is neat, so that way you can have something on the very end for like your GoPros, your scope cams, stuff like that. Then of course you have rail on the top for your standard attachments. It's assembled like a standard Caliburn with a standard Caliburn butt plate, and the grip is pretty standard. It has a double mag well, so you can fit double the ammo. There you go. There you go. And you can use double adapters for a double half length. Takes a little getting used to. Most people probably don't run a blaster with double mag wells, but it is really fun. And you can see that you can fire one shot, then the second shot. Or you can pull the entire trigger for a double shot. And then you can do, you know, so it is a standard Caliburn, and it's compatible with all the same Caliburn parts, such as the same plunger and the same ram if you wanted to get higher performance with machine parts, or be able to swap those parts. It also uses the same standard springs that a normal Caliburn uses as well, so you have a good variety of power options, as well as the barrel is easy to swap out just by a screw on either side of the muzzle. You can then swap those barrels out for any standard size barrel. And that's essentially, it's a pump action Springer, but Captain Slug has done some really interesting designs, and this is one that is definitely interesting. There are not very many double barrel blasters out there. Most of them have a problem if you pull the trigger too hard or too fast, then you end up shooting both your shots, which isn't very or as effective to be able to choose when to fire both those shots. But having a dual trigger setup like this one does, you can easily, as you saw, fire one shot or the other on command. You have to remember which one is loaded, but if you fire, then you can switch your finger and be ready to fire the next one. It's a Caliburn, but you get double firepower. Now, you do have double the spring compression, so you are going to have more priming force because you're compressing more springs. So it is a harder prime in general, but you have that double shot action. It does use more hardware overall. Obviously, it uses double barrels, double priming bars, double plunger tubes, so your hardware costs are gonna be a bit more. And the prints are fairly large, and so the print time is a little more substantial as well. But overall, it is a really fun, it is probably by far my favorite double barrel blaster there is. I used to run a rough cut back when I ran stock, way back when. And the rough cut was really fun because you did have that option to take a second follow-up shot really quickly. So it's like in between a semi-auto flywheeler and a Springer, where you have more than just one shot per prime, you have two shots per prime. Not technically semi-auto, but it's nice to have a second follow-up shot that's really quick. So as far as the function goes, I think a double barrel is a really cool idea if you want the power of and accuracy of a Springer, but something a little bit more unique, as well as spring powered still. It is wider than a standard blaster, so you do have that heft. You know, it's twice as thick. Definitely not a small run and gun platform. Oops. So since it is a Caliburn, it is compatible with the lower stock spacers, but it isn't compatible with the adjustable stock or all the shroud options on the front. So you do lose some compatibility in the fact that it's so much bigger. So it's compatible with the upgrade parts and the machine internals and the springs and barrels, but it's not compatible with some of the more cosmetic add-ons other than the grip insert and lower stock spacers. Yeah, this is by far one of, if not the best double barrel blaster I've seen. Nerf's come out with some weird over-under barrel types that, again, they're Nerf, don't get high performance, but it's such a gimmick. But there is, merit in having double barrels. As far as the gimmick goes, there's also a lot of fun behind it as well. But there's not a lot of options for double barrel out there, and I'm really glad that Captain Slug did this one. It also comes in a mega version, I believe. So we have done mega version hardware kits for a handful of people already, and this is the first full build for ourselves that we've done. A lot of people say that they have problems with the sears properly holding back the plunger under the spring force. A lot of times that has to do with flex in your material that you're printing in because of the kind of like the weird angle, the L shape where the sear goes back and then the actual detent or the catch for the plunger comes up. So if you get flexing on there, that'll cause a problem. This one doesn't actually have any of those problems, and we also found that making the sear taller also helps. We've also been able to recreate these parts out of metal to reduce that slop as well. But as far as we know, if you build it well, get enough tension on those bands and springs, then you've got no problem firing one or the other. That is the second degree burn.